thank you for your work to all the media outlets that are here. I want to recognize my good friends and colleagues who are here with us today. Minister of Seniors and Accessibility, Honorable Minister Raymond Cho, MPP Logan Kanapati, and MPP Aris Babikin, who have been steadfast in their support of the Tamil community. Last but not least, I would like to welcome the Minister of Education, Honorable Stephen Lecce. Welcome to Scarborough, Minister. You have been working tirelessly in the wake of COVID-19 to make sure that our students continue to receive and access to quality education, that whether in person or remote learning. And thank you for keeping our kids safe while also ensuring students continue to receive the high quality education that our province offers. Minister, I have to thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. You stood shoulder to shoulder with the Tamil community with unwavering support for the passage of Bill 104. Thank you so much, Minister. And in particularly, you spoke so passionately in the Ontario Legislature in support of Bill 104, a movement that I and many Tamil Ontarians will never forget. And because of your efforts and my colleagues' support, I'm humble and honored that the 7-day period in each year ending on May 18th has been proclaimed as Tamil Genocide Education Week in Ontario. This was a historic moment for Tamil people in Ontario, Canada, and across the world. Many community organizations, especially Tamil youth, who played a key role in advocating for interventions and continue to share how the trauma of Tamil genocide continue to affect them today. Tamil youth took to social media to share their stories and their personal stories and trauma that they have endured. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the hard work of key organizations such as the National Council of Canadian Tamils, Tamil Youth Organization, and Canadian Tamil Youth Alliance, who have joined us here with us for this important announcement. And I heard from Tamil people from all walks of life who have shared their personal stories and trauma with me and their MPPs. And it is through these stories that we can begin to understand our history and truth about the horrors of the atrocities and genocide that will continue to be committed against the Tamil people. Intergenerational and historic trauma runs deep in the Tamil community. The Tamil genocide affects the entire community of people, and it continues throughout the next generation. Recognition is a key part of healing. I want to thank our government for recognizing Tamil genocide. Today, our government has demonstrated its commitment to standing shoulder to shoulder with Tamil community by providing funds to bring awareness of the impacts of the Tamil genocide. And this funding will equip Tamil students through workshops and other resources to identify, cope, and implement strategies of self-care, as well as bring awareness to and break the stigma of mental health in the Tamil community. And without giving too much, I would now like to invite the Honorable Minister of Education, Minister Stephen Lecce, to share the announcement with you all. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It is wonderful to be with you all today. Good morning. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to start with an expression of gratitude. And I want to offer my message of thanks, Nandri, to the entire Tamil community for your incredible leadership, your compassion, and your hard work. What has been an extraordinary past 2 years, but I think we're all starting to see the light in this darkness. And I want to give a great deal of thanks to the Tamil community for demonstrating massive levels of generosity over the past 2 years. Our country, our province, our democracy, our economy, all of which is enriched because of the sacrifice of Tamil Canadians who've come to this country seeking freedom, opportunity, for their children and their grandchildren. And I think to serve with the first 2 Tamils elected in any province's history is historic in itself. That I have the honor that Minister Cho, Adis and I, and our entire caucus have the honor of serving with both Logan Kanapathy as well as Vijay, your hometown MPP, who are making history and making a profound difference in our country. And so I think we really ought to start this Tamil Heritage with the message of gratitude to these 2 gentlemen who are working so hard on behalf of all Tamils and all Canadians in our provincial legislature. So thank you both. I also just want to express gratitude for the team in Scarborough who are, as Vijay rightfully mentioned, for Raymond Cho, for Adis Babikian, Christina Midas, the entire team that is blessed to call the Scarborough home. These members, these individuals, public servants care so deeply about the success of Tamils. And it's why we're here today, because we recognize as progressive conservatives, we are prepared and very deliberative in our choice of words that we recognize the genocide that transpired against the innocent Tamil people. And a genocide that has left over 140,000 innocents perished at the hands of the regime in Colombo. And I think it speaks great volumes that our province passed legislation led by Vijay that will forever remember the horror of the genocide and remember the victims and their stories as we embed it into our education, into our curriculum, and into future consciousness of our country. The genocide is real. And the persecution of innocent people because of their faith or ethnicity or language is something that as Canadians we must denounce. And so we're here recognizing as a first principle that there was a genocide, recognizing that there was harm done and inflicted on multitude of generations, that we still feel this pain today. And we wouldn't be able to do this if in the context of helping to support treatment and recovery for these young people and their families, if we didn't have strong partners. And so I do want to express my gratitude to Siva Sambu of the Canadian Tamil Academy for the work they do, their welcome, and their partnership. I think we all recognize for Tamil Heritage Month, we have an opportunity to strengthen the learning of the Tamil contribution to Canada. And during this month, we recognize that vibrant history. It's why today we're very excited and proud to be partnering with the Canadian Tamil Academy to announce over $48,950 in funding for the Canadian Tamil Academy that will provide students with informational tools, with resources, with mental health supports to cope with the stress of the trauma of this most disturbing experience in genocide in a way that is culturally sensitive, in a way that will bring people together and unite the Tamil community. And through these more culturally relevant programs, we are finally giving Tamil resources for the Tamil community led by the Tamil community. I think that's very important. That students and children in your community will have resources that were initiated by Tamils for Tamils in this country, funded by the province, by our premier and our government. And our goal ultimately is to reduce the stigma, as Vijay mentioned, and to help young people and all students, all families, all parents, all educators gain the access to the services where they need it. And so today, I want to just express gratitude to all of you for what you do as wonderful Canadians, as patriotic, hardworking, decent people in your communities, for giving back and being proud of our country. I want to thank my colleagues for standing so strong with the Tamil community and for upholding the principles that Canadians, I think, are united by, with freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. And so we are moving forward. We're investing in the Tamil community. We are supporting the recovery that comes with COVID, as well as that comes with the intergenerational trauma of the genocide. And so we're proud to stand with you, proud to serve you. I note I'm proud to introduce one of 2 of the first Tamils ever elected in the Canadian history in any provincial legislature, my friend Logan Kanapathy, the MPP for Markham Thornhill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister, for that kind introduction, and good morning. வணக்கம் எல்லாருக்கும் என்னுடைய அன்பான பொங்கல் வாழ்த்துக்களும் புத்தாண்டு வாழ்த்துக்களும். I'm proud to be here with my wonderful MPs, MPPs, Vijay Tanigasalam and Minister Raymond Shaw, and MPP Aris Babikan from Agent Court. I want to thank Minister Stephen Lecce. I don't know where you get the energy. I always make a joke about with the minister. He's a vibrant, dynamic, more than anything else, is a wonderful human being. He always listened to us. So you heard the story about Bill 104. He always trying to do better things for the humanity, and we prove it in the first term of our provincial government, and Tamil community never going to forget in our history in Canada, in the diaspora world. So I'm happy to stand with my other colleagues. I like to thank Sasiva Sambasivananthan from Canadian Tamil Academy, NCCT, TYO, CTYO for your support, and also the directors also here, and the entire media. Thank you for coming here and taking the message out, and thank you for all for being here in person. And it's the first time you could see the light, sun shining outside because there's a minister here, and we doing the great announcement to the Tamil literature and the mental health. So Tamil Academy has been teaching language to the next generation of Canadian Tamil for decades. With the Quran, we can now shift into the hierarchy on the mental health. Mental health is in crisis. As we know, mental health begin early in one's life, and alongside COVID, these children have family trauma and the long history of the civil war in Sri Lanka, dating back to the 1980s, and many have since suffered in silence. This provincial funding from the Ministry of Education will certainly assist many Tamil teens and children struggling with the mental health and addiction, and help future generation of Canadian Tamils connect with their culture, language, and of course, their past. Keep up the great work, Tamil Academy, in helping empower future generation of Tamil Canadian. Tamil Academy வந்திருக்கிறோம், தமிழில் பேசணும்னு. ஸோ கனடிய தமிழ் அகாடமி இதுவரை காலமும் இளையோர் மத்தியில் தமிழ் மொழி கலாச்சார கல்வியினை பல வருடங்களாக எனக்கு தெரியும் சிறந்த சேவையை ஆற்றி வந்திருக்கிறார். இங்கே துராயன் இருக்கிறார், சிவானந்தன் இருக்கிறார், போர்ட் ஆஃப் டைரக்டர்ஸ் வாலண்டியர்ஸ் இருக்கிறோம். இந்த 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 புதிய மண்ணில் புதிய உலகத்தில் தமிழ் தலைக்கும்ன்றதுக்கு தமிழ் அகாடமி ஒரு விட்னஸ், ஒரு சாட்சி. இதுவரை சிறந்த சேவையாற்றி வந்திருக்க இந்த அகாடமி இப்போ சூச் இந்த கியார். இப்போ லிட்ரேச்சர் தமிழில் இருந்து மென்டல் ஹெல்த்துக்கு வர்றது பெரிய விஷயம். நாங்கள் மென்டல் ஹெல்த்தை அடிக்கடி என் ஒய்ஃப்ண்டே கூட காலையில் சொன்னோம். இட்ஸ் அஃபெக்ட் ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் ஒவ்வொரு விதமாக அஃபெக்ட் பண்ணியிருக்குது. ஃபேமிலி டாக்டர்ஸோட காய்ச்சா தெரியும். ஸ்பெஷலி கிட்ஸில் இருந்து, பேபியில் இருந்து, சில்ட்ரனில் இருந்து, ஹை ஸ்கூல் கிட்ஸ் வரைக்கும் ஒவ்வொருத்தரையும் ஸ்பெஷலி முதியோரெல்லாம் தாக்கி இருந்தாலும் கூட ஸ்பெஷலி இம்பேக்டட் பை எங்களோட சில்ட்ரனும் பேபிகளும் ஜுத்துகளும் தான் இந்த இந்த கோவிட்டில் சேலஞ்சில் பார்க்கப்பட்டிருக்கணும். ஈவன் சைக்காட்ரியை கண்டுபிடிக்கிறதே கஷ்டம். 6 மாதம் 7 மாதம் ஒரு கவுன்சிலிங் செய்கிறது. அப்போ கடந்த 2 வருடங்களாக நாம் ஒவ்வொருவரும் ஒவ்வொரு விதத்தில் ஏதோ ஒரு விடயத்தில் மனநிலையில் பாதிக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறோம். சிறு பிள்ளைகள் குறிப்பாக அந்த சோஷியல் மென்டல் ஹெல்த், என்ன ஸ்கூலுக்கு போகவிட்டால், தேக்கருக்கு போகவிட்டால், டீச்சரை பார்க்க விட்டால், விளையாட விட்டால் உங்களுக்கு தெரியும் என்ன நடக்குமாண்டு. அதே போல் பாடசாலை பிள்ளைகள் கம்ப்யூட்டர் ஸ்க்ரீனுக்குள்ள நாங்கள் கோவிட்டுக்கு முதலே சொல்கிறோம் என்ன பிள்ளைகள் இருக்காதீங்க. அப்போ கோவிட் வந்த அப்புறம் ஸ்க்ரீனுக்கு முன்னால் இருக்கணும் என்ன. ஸோ இட்ஸ் அஃபெக்டட் லாட் ஆஃப் டீனேஜ் அண்ட் அவர் சில்ட்ரன். ஆசிரியர்களை பார்க்கல, டீச்சர்களை பார்க்கல. ஸோ இன்றைய சூழலில் மினிஸ்டர் ஸ்டீவன் லெச்சனுடைய தமிழ் மாணவருடைய மன வளர்ச்சிக்கு ஏறத்தாழ இந்த காசை வழங்குறது $50,000 வழங்குறது பெரிய விஷயம். இப்போ மதர் தெரேசா சொன்ன, ஸோ யூ டூ சம்திங் வித் அ லவ், little things with the love would make a huge difference. அப்போ நாங்கள் 50,000 கொஞ்சம் காசாக இருந்தாலும் இது பெரிய மணி எங்களுக்கு தமிழ் கம்யூனிட்டியை பொறுத்தவரை, மென்டல் ஹெல்த்தை பொறுத்த இட்ஸ் மேக் a huge difference. அப்போ மினிஸ்டர் ஸ்டீவன் லெச்சிக்கும் பல்தேசிய தனியாக தமிழ் சமூகத்துக்கு மாத்திரமில்லை, அவர் உங்களுக்கு தெரியும் அந்த ஹேட் ஆன்டி ரேசிசம் இதில் எஜுகேஷன் மினிஸ்ட்ரி வந்து ஸ்டீவன் லெச்சி பர்சனலாக ஃபண்டிங்கை ரீச் அவுட் பல சிறுபான்மையினங்களை ரீச் அவுட் பண்ணியிருக்கிறார். அதன் இடத்துல தான் அந்த தமிழ் எங்களோட மக்களையும் எங்களோட இளைஞர்களையும் அவர் கூட ரீச் அவுட் பண்ணியிருக்கிறது பெரிய விஷயம். எங்களோட தமிழ் கம்யூனிட்டிக்கு அல்லது எங்களோட இளைஞர்களுக்கு அவளோட முகத்தை பாதிக்கிறார் என்றது ஒரு முக்கியமான விடயம். ஆகவே இங்கே வந்திருக்கிற எல்லா ஊடக நண்பர்களுக்கும் இனியோருக்கும் என நன்றிகளை கூறி, at this time I'm going to introduce my good friend, colleague, Minister Raymond Shaw. Raymond Shaw don't need the introduction for the Tamil community, Tamil media here. He's a star in the Tamil community. I had to say a couple of things about Raman Shaw. I known him for a long time. That's the problem. Over 2 decades when he was a councillor. I used to live in the Scarborough Rouge. I first get involved in the municipal politics through him, and he and his family, Chinook and his children were small. And one thing I liked Raymond Shaw, we didn't have a representation at the City of Toronto for the Tamil. He always took our voice to the City of Toronto Council, whether it's removing the Shinovo or building the park or building community amenities or any core services to impact the constituent residents in not only Scarborough Rouge. He is actually 45 councillor, but generally is a Tamil community. I had to tell one thing. During the final stage of the war, I was a councillor, Markham councillor, and he was a Toronto councillor. I called him. His body was a Secretary General of UN, Ban Ki-moon, and he didn't do the good job, you know that, in Sri Lankan issue. He visited as a tourist. Then he came back and he didn't make a good statement. Then I called Raymond Shaw, because of his countryman. Can we do something about it? Can we go and meet Ban Ki-moon at the New York and we'll tell exactly what's happening? And he said, no problem, Logan. And he right away she sent the letter. Right away she sent the email and letter to the Ban Ki-moon to explain exactly what's going on and the suffering and the plight of the Tamil-speaking people. Without further ado, so I'll invite Minister Raymond Shaw to come and say the few.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank MPP Logan Kalapati for the kind introduction. MPP Logan Kalapati and I, we've been family friends for a long time. And he's a lucky man. He met a beautiful wife who's a medical doctor, Dr. Logan, family physician. And she works tirelessly for Tamil community, her patients, the whole community. So I like to mention that. And welcome to Great Writing Scarborough North. I'm so honored to join you all today for this funding announcement. Thank you, Minister Lecce, for once again bringing good news to Scarborough. All the minister, all the MPP working so hard, but especially Minister Lecce, he works tirelessly. And I like to thank him personally because like a Premier Ford, I think he really loves Scarborough. And when he comes, he doesn't come empty-handed. He always brings something. And that's thank you, Minister Lecce. And the other day, not too long ago, I think last week, he came to one of the Catholic school and brought the big fund to build the daycare space at the school. And that's what Minister Lecce does. And so today's announcement comes so timely to Tamil Heritage Month. It strengthens our government's commitment to Tamil communities in Scarborough and across Ontario. Following our government's full support in passing the Tamil Genocide Education Week Act last May. And for that, I have to give a lot of credit to NPP Vijay Thandikasalam. He worked so hard together with the NPP Logan Kalapati. Tamil community, they elected 2 excellent NPP. They're working so hard at the Queen's Park. And as you know, our government made the announcement 11.9 million investment into the construction of a new Tamil community center here in North Scarborough last July. The Canadian Tamil Academy here in my writing has been long doing great work educating, supporting Tamil children about the Tamil language, literature, history, culture, and values. This funding to improve access to culturally appropriate mental health program will greatly help our first and second generations of Tamil youth who are dealing with mental health concern, especially during COVID-19 pandemic, including those who are affected by past traumas from Sri Lanka civil war and genocide. And now I already mentioned that there are special kudos to MPP Thanakasalam for spearheading the Tamil Genocide Education Week initiative and also to MPP Kalapati. And now, before I come to conclusion, I'd like to mention about one of the MPP. He's here, Aris Babikian. He is working so hard. Everywhere I go, I see MPP Aris Babikian, and I'm so glad you are here with us. Thank you so much, Nombo Nandri. And I will now turn it over to Sibasambu Sibanathan from the Canadian Tamil Academy, who will give some closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good morning. Just want to thank everyone who are present here, especially members of the provincial government and MPPs who are here. Thanking the Government of Ontario in granting this funding and specially needed cause. Also, just a brief background about the Canadian Tamil Academy. The Academy has been in operation for the last 30 years and educating youth on language and fine arts and creating a intelligent community educated and exemplified by Vijay, who was a student here, and we have Saranya, who is working in the background. There are about approximately more than 15,000 students who have studied over this period, and all of them have gone to pursue university education. One of the long-term goals is to have a community college with the daycare facility and library. That's one of our long-term goals. Presently, we are in the process of getting private career college application. The application has started. We had an issue whether Canadian Tamil Academy being a not-for-profit, whether it's eligible, but finally I got the approval, that it's okay to have it. So we hope to get that approval very soon from the Ministry of Colleges and Training. And we hope to serve more people. This funding is going to help not only Tamils and also all the other members of the community who are in need of this particular cause. With that, I like to extend my thanks again for all the members who are here, people and the media, and also the members of provincial government. Thank you. Also the last remark, sorry. This is being the last day of the Tamil Heritage Month. And thank you for Government of Ontario introducing earlier. And two of the most founding members of this Tamil Heritage Month concept was Canadian Tamil Academy and Arivaham. Just want to stress that point here. We don't want the history forgotten as to the evolution and how this Tamil Heritage Month came into existence. Thank you.
Now I would like to introduce MPP from Scarborough Agent Code, MPP Aris Babikian, who's been a pillar of support of the Tamil community throughout the last 4 years and earlier, and especially for Bill 104. He's been a steadfast support, as well as he spoke on the legislature on this issue. It's my honor and distinguished pleasure to introduce MPP Aris Babikian.
Thank you, Vijay, for the kind introduction. Dear friends, first of all, I would like to congratulate the Canadian Tamil Academy for this important grant. Also, I would like to thank Minister Lecce for his kind consideration. We are fortunate to have such a compassionate Minister of Education in Ontario who is involved with the grassroots. And also I would like to thank Minister Raymond Cho, his mentor, statesman, and leader, and also my good friend Logan Kanapati. Dear friends, it is my great pleasure to be here today with you to witness this important announcement. As the grandson of a survivor of the Armenian Genocide, I know what it means to witness and to transmit that trauma from one generation to another, because they do not recognize the heinous crime. That trauma transmits from one generation to another. I am a third generation of a survivor of the Armenian Genocide. I still suffer from the trauma of the genocide. I haven't been the witness, but the psychological effect on the generation is very, very powerful. Because when you stand up in any circumstances, someone questions your family, your community, your nation, history, and what you have gone through, that creates a trauma for you. And it is happening to me, it is happening to every genocide survivor nation, victim nation. That's why it is important, all of us, we stand together to fight this scourge of denial of a genocide by anyone. And education is an important aspect of that, because we have to educate the future generations about what it means to live with the trauma of a genocide. And I am confident that with the leadership of Minister Lecce, we will be able to bring additional education in our public schools to teach about this most important issue in the history of mankind. The 20th century is called the century of tears, because 60 million people were killed because of genocide. And it is our duty to teach the future generation about this important aspect so that we can prevent future genocide from happening. So thank you very much for being here, for all my colleagues, for their support, and good luck to all of you. And I will be available anytime you need me. Thank you.
So we will open up the floor to media for one question and one follow-up. Please state your name and your organization. First question. If there are no questions, that's okay, and we'll end the announcement here. Oh, there's
Please.
a question. Yes, please come forward.
Because Raja from Tamil Guardian. A question I had was just today, what are some measurable goals you hope to achieve with the funding?
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to the leadership of Tamil, the Canadian Tamil Academy, to speak more about the program. But the aim is to expand access to mental health services that were designed by the Tamil community for the next generation of Tamils in Canada. In part, it's programming, resources, and access to care that will allow young people who face that intergenerational trauma or just the general pressures of COVID, of being a student in this country, of having direct access to individuals that can give them, the preventative mental health supports that we think the community will need, should have access to, and now under our government they will. It's a 1-year investment. It allows us over the course of time to understand and measure the impacts and to look beyond scaling it up and augmenting the program to make the biggest impact on the greatest number of Tamils right across the GTHA in the province of Ontario. But it perhaps would be prudent to turn it over to the Canadian Tamil Academy. They may have some additional perspective on the goals.
Yeah, in terms of measurable goals, as the members were mentioning, is to identify the mental illness prevalent. It's very difficult. People have to come forward and they have to accept themselves. So with this program, we'll help design tools and process to bring in people with various spectrum of mental illness. So at the end of the program, we are going to know how many people are affected mildly or severely and how they are going to be treated. Thank you.
Yes. Just about what are some like long-term effects of the funding? Like, is there hope that the funding long-term, or is it more focused like in the short term? And are there any like long-term goals of it?
Thank you for that question. The long-term goal of this funding is to have, this is like a one-time funding coming for this year to educate our next generation, especially in Tamil schools from grade 10 to grade 12, as well as they're going to partnership, Tamil Academy is going to partnership with Arivagam to reach the youngest Tamil students as well, to talk about the mental health and intergenerational trauma that caused by Tamil Genocide and all the other aspects in the Tamil community. And this will be a door opener so that we'll have the open dialogue with our next generation that, look, these are the reasons that sometimes parents don't share these stories, and these are the reasons maybe the parents fled the island of Sri Lanka, and we want to first share the stories because everyone in the Tamil community, mostly they do share a lot of painful stories and they have a lot of trauma, but the parents, they don't necessarily share that with our next generation. So this funding will help to the first step into the door to get the kids and the mental health professionals and professionals from the educational background to have that dialogue in the lens of mental health and intergenerational trauma. And the long term, definitely our Ontario government will work with organizations like Canadian Tamil Academy and also for younger Tamil students with Arivagam and obviously with the NCCT, CTY and TYO to make sure how we can get the data from this first program and take the lessons learned so that we can implement this in a mass scale way. But this is just a beginning. As Minister Lecce said, the aim is to have the dialogue and educate the students so that we can all come together and strongly say never again to these genocides across the world.
Next question. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Group photo in front of the sign, right? We're going to do that first.